Hey, good evening, everyone. My name is Jim Carella. I'm the director of pickleball at TPC Sugarloaf. We're going to be talking about pickleball because it's April and April is pickleball month. So, what to expect? Um, in this forum, we're going to talk about a little bit about what's happening in the pickleball world, but we also want to highlight American Racket Sports Association. So, obviously, formerly the GPTA. It is now ARSA. And that's a really great thing because now we can incorporate all the racket sports, not just highlight tennis, which was our basically. And I'm excited to be hosting a series of these for you. So this first one we're going to be talking about is pickleball, obviously. And a couple of things about what's happened to pickleball. In 2025, by the end of this year, we should have probably around, they approximate 20 million players, which is hard to believe. And that is something that I just cannot believe that I'm still sitting here talking to you about this and saying we have 20 million players. Because I got started in pickleball in 2019 and maybe there was a million. I don't know. I don't even think there was that many. What's really mind-boggling is 70% of those 20 million people are between the ages of 18 and 44 when I was doing my research. And that really blew my mind because let's face it, pickleball back when we started was an old person sport. It was considered for retired people. You only played it in Florida, you only played it on vacation. It has exploded, but primarily in the young, in that demographics. I consider myself a pretty avid player, and when I look at where I am now on the scale, I am in the smallest percentile as far as age bracket of players, which it was just not the way when I first started. Everybody was looking like me, old, and now they are young. And it is mind-boggling. And one of the things that I think has dramatically changed the game is that youth with speed, reflexes, and physicality. The game is so much more physical now than it was back when I first started. And how does that affect our teaching, as professionals? What do we do to address that? To figure out how we tailor our lessons for the new pickleball, as I call it. It's definitely not the pickleball that I started playing just 6 years ago. And when I got certified by Sarah Ansberry, it was, why are you moving your feet so much? And you need to walk in. Why are you hitting the ball so hard? It was all about the third shot drop. And basically now when I do my lessons, and I've got about 10 hours a week on the court for pickle, and I'd say about 8 hours on the court with tennis. I don't really talk about the third shot drop that much anymore because watching all of my players play in the leagues, it's just a bunch of banging. It's nice to have that skill. So we've been teaching an adapted drop, which I call a drop. It's a drive and a drop combined so that when you hit your drive, it's got shape. And the shape is to have that ball dipping like a topspin and trying to get below the net level so somebody can't attack that drive. That's something that I've made a big concerted effort on. Also, resetting because now the speed of the ball, you cannot get in on the serving side on one shot. It takes two or three resets to get up to the non-volley line. And so resets are really critical, even at a 3.0 level or a 3.5. You see it on the tour, but I think the lower level players have to learn how to also reset because they're not getting up to the spot that they need to get to. So these are some things that I've observed, and just the style of play is so different than what it was just 6 years ago.
So, and I've got some questions for you before we
Sure.
open it up, Jim, if you
Yeah,
don't
yeah.
mind. The phrase that came to mind was, this isn't your grandpa's pickleball.
Yeah, exactly.
This isn't the same thing because we've got a younger demographic coming in. And my question to you is, why do we think, and I say, why do we think? It's a forum. We want to talk about it, right? It isn't just one man's opinion, but why do we think that there are more younger players, 18 to 44? We're talking high school, college, 20 somethings that are playing pickleball. And like you said, we originally thought it was all old people.
Well, I think that's a good question because I think part of it, Shaun, is that it's been in the curriculum of junior high and high school players for a long time. It's been in the schools and it was adapted by the physical education teachers across America because they could fit more players inside on pickleball courts versus playing 5-on-5 basketball. They got 10 people active. In pickleball, you could set up 6 or 8 nets, and now you have 30 to 40 players. So one of the things I think now that has happened is those people have gone through the progression and they know what pickleball is. Now they're reaching high school and college. And I think that that has been a big factor. Um, Also, let's face it, a lot of high level high school players that go to a D1 school cannot get on the tennis team, just can't make it. I mean, the percentages get so small, but they see pickleball and they can be really good at it. And there's so much club activity, club sports activity. I think that's been really helpful. And also the other factor is it's such a co-ed and also such a social game that I think it's drawing a lot of people to it. Let's face it, everyone's on their screen. And thank goodness for pickleball, because without that, I don't think people would know how to have a conversation.
Well, and I like that you said it's also co-ed because my wife and I were very different tennis players. We can't really go out and play tennis together, but we can go out and play pickleball together because it's that much simpler of a concept to be able to do. So I watched my stepson bring a girlfriend by, and he's like, "Yeah, we're going to go up and play some pickleball." Well, you could tell he was athletic and she wasn't, but they had a great time. You couldn't really do that with tennis.
Yeah, I think I call it generational because you can have, I've seen where a grandfather and then parents and the grandkid and their child go out to play. And matter of fact, that's how Annalee Waters started, probably the number one pickleball player female right now of all time. I mean, I'm sure there'll be people coming behind her that might take that crown, but right now she's dominated for the last 5 years, 6 years. And it was during COVID and they were in Florida and her grandparents said, "Hey, take a break from soccer. Why don't you play some pickleball with us?" And she's like, "What's that?" And that's how she got introduced to pickleball when she was, I believe, 12 or 13. And, here she is playing with her grandparents, and her mom is a excellent player as well. I don't know if her dad can hit a pickleball. He might hit a little bit, but videos I've seen of him, I think he's just best as a cheerleader. Um, but yeah, I mean, everybody can play. And so the interesting thing I find is during the holidays, Christmas, Thanksgiving, even Easter, I get a lot of calls from my members to say, "Hey, my kids are in town. Can you do a family lesson? We all want to learn how to play." And that's great. And you cannot, like you said, step on the tennis court where you have one really skilled player and three that don't know how to hit the ball. Yeah, it might work, but not everyone's going to have a good time, especially the person that's skilled.
Yep.
So,
Yeah. No, that's a big one. All right. So one last question, and then we'll consider a forum and actually talk. But how do we tailor? You talked about how does it change our lessons,
mhm.
and you give lessons consistently. I'm not a pickleball coach on a daily basis. So how do you tailor lessons for people who don't take lessons? We have a whole demographic of people. The older generation were willing to pay for things. They're the types that buy golf clubs and actually spend money on these things at their country clubs. But the younger generations don't as much. The 20 somethings are just out there having fun. They're not really going and taking lessons to get better in that country club weekly lesson, tennis lesson kind of way. So is it I guess it's a trick question. How do you tailor lessons? How do you tailor programming, I should ask, for
Right.
those that don't typically take lessons? Is it round robins? Is it socials? Is it groups and drills? What do we do?
Wow. I think, yeah, all of the above. I do a lot of socials, and sometimes the parents will say, "Hey, my 20-something-year-old wants to play. Is that okay?" And by the way, he's going to bring his girlfriend, or she's going to bring her boyfriend. I'm saying that's fine. And so they get introduced that way. For the younger ones in our sports camp, we call it now because it's got tennis in it and we got swimming. The kids are introduced to pickleball, and I do an hour of pickleball for five straight days for red dot tennis ball kids all the way up to green dot, and even some regular yellow balls. So it's amazing to watch those red dotters excel more quickly in pickleball than in tennis. They'll struggle during the week of tennis camp, or now we're going to call it sports camp. Um, but in pickleball, it's amazing. And so as soon as they get there in the early morning to do their tennis segment, the first thing they ask our tennis coaches is, when are we going to do pickleball? And so I, and I'm a tennis coach also, so I don't want them to not do tennis, but they're really looking forward to pickleball because they had success. Um, Tailoring it, I think the speed, I think letting them just hit hard, instead of trying to teach lots of dinks and a third shot drop. We'll work on dinks just for warm up. That'll be our warm up. You can compare it to warming up close, in tennis, ladies tennis, men even a little bit. Let's warm up, and they all start at the service line and they hit some balls, and then eventually they move all the way back. Well, that's what I equate this to, is that the dinking is just to warm themselves up. And then I have everybody go back. And really, it's very much similar. It's very similar to tennis drills. We'll have two up and two back, and I'll feed a ball, and they have to drive that ball through the middle, and then work on that ball that dips. And people at the net are defending the net, and the people at the end line are trying to come in. I should say not the net, but the non-volley line. They're securing the non-volley line. The people at the end line are trying to come forward. Then I'll have all four back. Um, and then we'll do the serve, where we have the receiving team is one up, one back, and the serving side is both back. So it's very similar to what we do for tennis. And because I let them hit a lot of balls, I try to make it fun versus very instructional. I think it creates an element of, it's not as threatening, and I think they're enjoying that more.
Yeah, not as threatening as good. And I apologize. I do actually have one more question. What is the wave in pickleball? If you know what I mean by the wave, the tennis game where you feed a ball to two players at the baseline and they come forward and they got to win 2 out of 3 points, or they got to win 3 out of 3 points. They come to the net, they get a forehand, they come forward, they get a volley, then they get a smash. You know what game I'm talking about?
Mm-hmm.
The tennis
Mm-hmm.
game. What's the pickleball version? Because I can only imagine that's a better way to do things when it needs to be gameplay oriented.
Yeah, that's funny because with the summer camp with the kids, we'll have what's called king of the court or queen of the court, and we'll have two on the feeding side and two in, and the rest of the kids are waiting to pop right in, and it's just best 2 out of 3 points. So those kids on the end line, I feed them. If they win that point, because they get the first crack at coming forward, which is good. They win, they go back again and reset, and we do another point like that. If they win 2 out of 3, they come on over and we sub in the next two kids. So it's really high energy, lots of movement, lots of hitting, and it gives them a sense of point structure because I call it return and run. They're both back. I'll feed them the ball, which is theoretically a serve in pickleball, and they take it and they move in together, and the other team is already back, and then they have to work on their low drive and counter, because that was theoretically the serving side is the king side or the queen side.
That makes
And
sense.
and the other thing that's really amazing is the girls most of the time are a notch better than the boys because the boys can't overpower the girls, and the girls have smarter placement. They'll hit the ball softer instead of just trying to whack it in. A pickleball does not bounce. So if you can hit a soft, good angle, it's devastating to someone that's trying to stay back and wail on the ball. So the girls, I feel like, um, have more than equal footing as far as their ability to combat really power players.
Another argument for the perfect co-ed game. I like it.